this is Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert, a NASCAR podcast. We're in the third week of the NASCAR offseason, but that does not stop the racing action. So much racing, in fact, we have 2 episodes this week. The South Carolina 400 would be happening at Florence Motor Speedway. Top late model drivers in the East of Lanie Buice, Connor Jones, Connor Hall, Cade Brown, Caden Kvapil, Doug Barnes Jr., plus many others would be ready to take on the 0.4 mile short track. NASCAR names entered are Carson Kvapil, Matt Gould, Austin Green, plus Keelan Harvick, son of NASCAR champ Kevin Harvick. That's not all. We'll run down all the hot off-season news and discussions with Dave. What's the beef between Steve Phelps and Richard Childress? Yellow flag, green flag. Interview with this year's South Carolina 400 winner, Caden Kvapil. NASCAR History Time. Paint scheme of the week. Recap of top moments of the 2025 Cup season. Plus so much more on this episode of Splash of Gas. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Now for the recap of the 2025 South Carolina 400. The South Carolina 400 would be in action this past Saturday at the short track of Florence Motor Speedway. After qualifying, the 5 of Carson Brown would be on the pole, followed by Keelan Harvick, son of Cup Series champ Kevin Harvick, as the 2 would make up the front row to green. Early on, Connor Hall, then Connor Jones would be up front, until Carson Kvapil would take the lead over from Jones after a restart on lap 55. Carson would fight through several restarts while staying up front strong. Laps later, his brother Caden in the 8 would pass Jones for second. Could Caden get past his brother? The 2 would be battling hard for the lead for a number of laps as they both tried to get through lap traffic. With 125 to go, Caden would get past Carson. A lap later, the yellow would fly for the halfway break. The brothers would be up front for the following restart. Caden would get the upper hand and lead. 3 yellows would fly with 106, 105, and 83 laps to go. Caden Kvapil would still be leading. Him and the 4 of Connor Hall would restart up front with 83 laps to go, as Carson Kvapil is in third. Hall would clear for the lead, as Caden continues to hound him for the top spot from second. Another restart after a yellow with 59 to go would see Caden Kvapil go back to the front spot. Carson Kvapil would slip to fourth as Hall and Gentry battle side by side for second. Laps later, the battle for the second spot would boil over as Gentry spins Connor Hall. Strange moment would then occur as, because of the contact, Gentry would be sent to the rear. He didn't like that ruling. He parked his 09 on the start-finish line. More on that in discussions with Dave. The Kvapil brothers would restart up front with 42 laps to go. Caden would get the jump and lead once again. 3 more yellows would fly with the final restart coming with 30 laps to go. Again, the brothers would battle. But Caden would continue to be strong in that 8, putting a gap in between him and Carson. The rest of the race would stay green, and Caden Kvapil is your 2025 South Carolina 400 champ. More from Caden later in the show. Now for yellow flag, green flag from the South Carolina 400. Yellow flag to Riley Gentry. Him and Connor Hall had a great battle for second, but the 2 make contact with 51 to go, sending Hall spinning. Because of the contact, Gentry would get sent to the rear. He didn't like that and parked his 09 right on the start-finish line. Green flag honorable mention to 13-year-old Keelan Harvick, qualified second, securing a P5 finish after a long night for the youngster. Green flag to Travis Kvapil. He was the winning crew chief for his son, Caden. In second place was his oldest son, NASCAR Xfinity rising star Carson Kvapil, a true racing family. Now for trivia question time. This episode's question is for our big late model fans out there. Question is, prior to the South Carolina 400 being named the South Carolina 400 and being held at Florence, the event went by a different name and was raced at a different track. Name that track and what the race was called when it started in 1993. Answer at the end. Fresh off his win in Florence in the 400, now for our interview, we bring on driver Caden Kvapil. Here's what Caden had to say. Next driver we bring on the splash of gas is none other than the winner of the South Carolina 400 this past weekend, Caden Kvapil. Thank you for joining the show, Caden. Congratulations on the win in North Wilkesboro last month, and of course the 400 this past weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's really cool. Obviously, Wilkesboro is one of the more high grip tracks, I guess you'd say, we go to, and Florence is kind of one of the tracks with the least amount of grip. So to be able to win on two completely different surfaces back to back, it's really cool for sure.
Awesome. Says a lot about that junior motorsports team for sure right now. You've just as you said been on a recent tear with the 2 wins on the cars tour. Coming into Wilkesboro, you made 5 starts in the super late model and 2 starts in the pro previous to Wilkesboro. From the icebreaker through the summer, coming into the fall. Don't want you to give any secrets away, but how did you feel as a driver? Did you make any improvements during that time? You felt like?
Yeah, I definitely did a lot. The late model stock stuff's kind of new to me. I guess, this year I've ran part-time, and I think maybe ran less than 10 races this year total in late model stock. So it's new stuff to me. Obviously, I've ran pros for the last couple of years and supers a little bit. But getting into late model stocks, it's completely different race cars, a lot stiffer competition. So it's challenging. All racing's challenging, of course, but the late model stock stuff, especially in the cars tour, it's really difficult. And I think throughout the season, just getting more laps and more experience against competition under my belt, it helped a lot for later in the year. And I think in July or so, I won my first race at Hickory in the late model stock series with JRM, and then we went into a couple of races after that. I didn't run a whole lot, but we got to Wilkesboro, the Cars Crew season finale, and we were able to get the win there. And then a month later, go to Florence, South Carolina for the South Carolina 400 it's called, and pick up another really big win in a 250 lap event. So it's really cool. It definitely gave me a lot of momentum from Wilkesboro and a lot of confidence going into next season for sure.
Sweet. Awesome. Sounds like you're ready for next year. Getting into North Wilkesboro, you were just touching upon the win. You make up several spots early there. Looked like the 8 really came to its own the longer the night went on. You get past Lanie Buice with 83 to go, and then teammate Connor Hall for second. 7 laps later, how was the 8 feeling the first part of that race there?
It felt really good. I think at the break we really didn't adjust it too much. We were a little too tight, I'd say, in the beginning half. We still had a lot of speed in the car, obviously, though. But I felt like for me to be a little more comfortable behind the wheel, I wanted to free up the car a little bit just so we had a little better turn through the corner. But we also got 2 tires at that point, 2 right side tires. So we kind of had to play some games with that. Obviously, just 2 tires tightens it up a little bit. So we had to loosen it up a little more to compensate for that, but it definitely helped in the long run for sure.
Gotcha. Appreciate that insight. The final 30 laps before and after the last yellow around lap 20 saw some awesome racing between you and Huffman in the 28. Most of the laps saw him lead. What did you learn from racing the 28 that helped you make that pass on the final turn, and how did it feel to win in North Wilkesboro, of all places?
Yeah, it was really difficult for sure. Like you said, me and him were really evenly matched. I think I was probably a little better if I got in clean air. I think I probably would have been able to drive away with it a little bit. But my 1 and 2, I could just always get to his inside almost every lap, and I could just roll through the corner a lot better than him. But in 3 and 4, he could just hold me just tight enough to where it'd break all my momentum off the corner. So once I got that run on the last lap going into turn 3, I knew I had to take it. So winning at Wilkesboro is super special, and it's really cool for sure riding that elevator. It's something not many people will get to do. So it was a really, really cool opportunity to do that.
Heck yeah, was there at the beginning of the year when the trucks and Cup were there. Definitely looks like an awesome track. So must have been super exciting, as you were just saying. Just looking back at the 400 last weekend, you have the momentum, obviously, from North Wilkesboro. Plus, it seemed like you had a fast hot rod and learned a lot during the icebreaker at the beginning of the season, which was at Florence as well. Last weekend, you qualified 8th. One thing that has always impressed me with your brother is always seems how calm he is pre-race. I mean, had a lot of friends and, of course, family at the track. How were you feeling prior to a long 250 laps in Florence Saturday night?
I mean, I'm kind of the same way as him. I don't really show it, I don't think, but I think inside, me and him we both get a little stressed. I definitely do for sure. I don't know how much he is, but I'm really good all the time till I get in the car, or probably 5 minutes before I get in the car. I'm still really scared, like nervous, I guess you could say. And then once I get strapped in and stuff, it kind of goes away and it just goes back to normal, But when I was starting side by side with him, I knew at least the start was going to be good because me and him know that we get a race smarter at each other, and I knew from there once we got single filed out, it'd be just another normal race. So, but yeah, it was definitely a little stressful for me, just because long races like that, stuff can happen and take you out early. So you just had to be really smart about it in the beginning and get to the halfway break and make the right adjustments for the end.
Got it. Thank you for the insight. Of course, must have been super cool starting alongside your brother there, as you just mentioned. The first half of the race, you make a number of passes, and about the halfway point, you get past Carson for the lead. What did you learn early that helped you be so strong in the latter half of the race?
Yeah, the first half of the race, I thought the car was a little too tight, but and I really didn't go super far forward till the last 30 or 40 laps of the run. Like, I didn't really have the speed in the car, but by the end of the run, lap 125 was the break, and by the end, like last 20 laps or so, with my car being a little too tight, I just had way better drive off the corner than anyone else. So I made up a lot of positions just because I could power down, get on the gas harder than most people. And at the break, we didn't do a whole lot to the car. We got 4 tires, so the balance didn't really change with those. But I knew I wanted to turn the corner a little better without killing the exit, because I knew the exit security was what made my car really good in the long run. So we helped it a little bit, and the second half of the race, we were just lights out quick.
Awesome. Now, appreciate you going over those small details. Once you get past your brother, then on the remaining restarts, the 8 was, just as you said, was super fast up front. You go on the win by a pretty big margin, pretty much the whole length of turn 3 and 4 over your brother in second and Cade Brown in third. What did it mean to you to get the win this past Saturday at such a big race at the South Carolina 400?
Yeah, it's really cool, for sure. That race is pretty one of the crown jewels of late model stock racing, I'd say. It's definitely grown in the last couple of years, and the last 2 or 3 years that I've been there, it's gotten almost, if not 50 cars every year. So it's a really big race every year. In Florence, that track is pretty tough, and a lot of strategy goes into it. That track wears tires pretty bad, more than other tracks. So you got to manage your tires, but you also got to stay up front. So a lot of strategy goes into it. And to be able to win that race against my brother is really cool. Obviously, we went 1-2, so that's even awesomer. And we don't really get to race each other a whole lot in late model stuff. So to be able to do that in the limited amount of starts we've done together, it's really special.
Gotcha. Yeah, they were saying on the broadcast that it was like carts or bandoleros the last time that you raced your brother. So, as you were saying, must have been pretty awesome. Just talking about your brother Carson in the 32, but you had your dad Travis, a 03 Truck Series champ, atop of the box as your crew chief last Saturday. Must have been special for your entire family for sure.
Yeah, it definitely was cool. My dad, he's been doing my crew chief my stuff for the last handful of years, really, since I've always raced. He's done it back in the Outlaw carts. Me and Carson, we used to race each other a bunch in those, and those are just kind of little carts that we run 20 minutes from our house. So obviously he was doing that for the years that we did that. And then when me and Carson both started in late model racing. He was the crew chief on that. He's crew chief my pro car the last couple of years that I've raced, and this year in the JRM car, he's crew chief that as well. So obviously a lot goes into it. He's definitely busy and works hard at it. So he was a crew chief on me and kind of the co-owner on Carson's car this weekend. So he was pretty busy, and the whole family was there to witness it. So it was really cool.
Awesome. Sounds like a really cool experience, through and through, and definitely does seem like your dad had a lot of to do throughout the weekend, but I'm sure it was worth it in the end. You mentioned working with JRM. How has it been working with all those guys, everyone at Junior Motorsports?
Yeah, it's really neat. There's a handful of us at the late model shop, and we're kind of just doing our own deal. It's really fun. I've learned a lot this year. When I race, I get my cars pretty much fully ready on my own, and then my dad will come over and help do setup with me as its crew chief role. But it's been really easy and fun, and working with the guys pretty much every day. It's definitely helped a lot because these late model stock stuff, like I said earlier, they're a little bit different than what I'm used to and what I grew up around. So it definitely took a little bit of learning to get used to them, but it's been fun for sure.
Gotcha. Seems like you have a great setup over there. I'm working with everyone at JRM and, of course, your dad. Last question. You mentioned the momentum coming into 2026. What are your goals right now for 2026 for next year?
Yeah, right now we're definitely on a high. So I definitely want to go out there and try to win the Cars Tour Championship in late model stocks. It's definitely not going to be easy. It's pretty tough watching the last couple of years of the competition level and how well you have to do each week to be able to win the championship. So that's my ultimate goal right now. But if that don't happen, I just want to keep them on winning races and improve myself as a driver. These late model stocks, like I said, they're a little bit different. They're challenging every week. Someone else can be the winner. So it's not easy for sure. So just maintain and keep up, hopefully get more wins, learn more as a driver, learn more about the cars, work on them better, and just show up to the track every week with a good mentality and hoping we can just park in a victory lane every week.
Gotcha. Awesome. Seems like you're in a really good spot and set up for a great 2026. Really appreciate your time, Caden, and best of luck. We'll talk to you at the beginning of next year, all right?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
What great insight from Caden. Greatly appreciate his and his brother's time. Now for Paint Scheme of the Week. Gotta give honorable mention to Dale Jr.'s 2024 Budweiser throwback scheme that he ran at Florence in the South Carolina 400. Last year, he was not in the race. This year, wanted to talk about that. Was in Florence for the race last year. The grandstands, myself included, was covered in the red Budweiser number 8 shirts. And that car was tough looking. Now for our nominee of Paint Scheme of the Week. He's still a youngster, but very cool seeing the Hunt Brothers Pizza paint scheme at the South Carolina 400 with Keelan Harvick behind the wheel of the 62. Now for NASCAR History Time. With the South Carolina 400 going on last weekend, it's just miles away from one of NASCAR's most famous tracks, Darlington. Here are some of the memorable moments from the track Too Tough to Tame. September 3rd, 1951, the second South Carolina 400 delivered a spectacle unlike anything stock car fans had seen before. A staggering 82 cars packed onto the Darlington Raceway grid, creating the largest field ever to start a race in the sport's history. Imagine that nowadays. Wild to think. A crowded marathon with traffic everywhere and survival becoming just as important as speed. When the dust settled, Herb Thomas navigated the chaos better than anyone else, rising out of the massive swarm to score the landmark victory. Let's pause for a second. Imagine the lap traffic going through an 82-car race. But second thought, this race happened in 1951. Imagine the scorekeeper, what they were going through. Trying to keep the race straight must have been a difficult task as well. Now, for the second race we're going to look at from Darlington, September 6, 65. Ned Jarrett's lone Darlington win became one of the most unbreakable records in NASCAR history. On that hot Labor Day, Jarrett just didn't win, he obliterated the field, taking the checkered flag by a whopping, unthinkable 14 laps ahead of second place Buck Baker. It still remains the largest margin of victory ever recorded in a NASCAR race. The third and final race we'll touch upon on this episode, September 2nd, 1968, Cale Yarborough, proudly carrying his state flag of South Carolina on the car, scored his first career Southern 500 win in a race that felt more like a heavyweight title bout than the traditional Labor Day Classic. Driving the legendary Wood Car 21, Yarborough spent the afternoon locked into an intense, hard-charging battle with David Pearson, a driver very bit as formidable on the gritty Darlington surface. Lap after lap, the two would trade paint, each refusing to give an inch. In the closing laps, Yarborough finally broke clear, muscling his way to victory lane and implanting his name among the fellow greats, winning the Southern 500, a defining moment in what would become one of NASCAR's storied careers. Now for Discussions with Dave. First topic, Phelps and RCR feud ongoing among the 2311 and Front Row Motorsports lawsuit with NASCAR. Here's a breakdown of the timeline. This lawsuit has been the talk of NASCAR for some time now. It's been going on for well over a year at this point, and this week, NASCAR Commissioner Steve Phelps' text messages about Richard Childress were revealed as the antitrust lawsuit continues, and they are not looking good. In August of 2023, Phelps, who was reacting to Richard Childress's comments on SiriusXM NASCAR radio, called their owner a stupid redneck who should be taken out back and flogged. The text messages were obviously during a very stressful time throughout this long lawsuit, but nonetheless, they were very shocking and surprising. According to Fox Sports' Bob Pockrass, Phelps called Childress a few weeks ago to tell him that these are going to be coming out and that he doesn't feel that way about him. Definitely the right thing and leadership thing to do on Phelps' behalf. By no means defending the text. I support Richard Childress in this. Private text messages to be released in this, I understand it's evidence, but we're all humans. I'm sure every one of us, or some of us, have sent text messages about someone they had ill feelings at that moment. Phelps, obviously, as he said, he didn't feel that way about Richard Childress. Kind of 50-50 on if those should have been released in the first place. But heck, I'm a NASCAR reporter. Sometimes more drama, the better. And now, in the past couple days, team owner Richard Childress and Richard Childress Racing as an organization are now considering legal action against NASCAR over the string of text messages that were released. If you've been following along, I guess Steve Phelps' call to Childress didn't go the best then, in the end. If it went a little bit better, they might have not come out and said, hey, we're going to threaten legal action over you, right? In hindsight, and shout out to Kenny Wallace to bring this up on his podcast, Coffee with Kenny, the past couple seasons, we have heard Childress say, we're a redneck team. Mr. Childress is a racer through and through, as we know. And heck, aren't we all a little redneck or sometimes a lot redneck? Nonetheless, it seems like Childress might have already had that information. Moving along, but Pretty much on the same topic, Steve Phelps out, and to replace him, Dale Jr.? Prior to these text messages being released, fans and voices in the sport have been wanting changes made for some time now. Now with Phelps, these messages being released puts him somewhat on the hot seat. Is it time for a change? Many have called in the past couple days for Dale Jr. to take over Phelps' position as the commissioner of NASCAR. Dale Jr., along with Kevin Harvick and other partners, do run the Z-Max Cars Tour, and as we know, he grew up with racing in his blood and at the track. At first, it does seem like a pipe dream. Dale Jr. runs Junior Motorsports, that, as we know, is very successful on the late model side of things, and of course, Xfinity Series. Additionally, Junior runs a very popular podcast. But if you think about it longer, it really could be the best thing for the sport. And I believe it could bring it back to popularity levels to when his dad and him were racing. Still plenty of arguments on either side. Did want to touch upon this, a lot to chew on, and people have been talking about it the last couple days. Next topic, spoke about this event at the end of the race. It occurred in the South Carolina 400. The 09 of Riley Gentry and Connor Hall were battling hard side by side for a number of laps for that second spot. Gentry gets into the back of Hall. Hall goes spinning. Yellow flag comes out. And the rule, if you are involved in a spin, regardless of intent or not, you go to the rear of the field. And with 50 laps to go, Gentry did not like that ruling. He parked his car on the start-finish line. We've seen drivers do this in the past. Heck, we saw our good buddy Josh Williams make the front page of newspapers doing this in Atlanta. This is completely different for Riley Gentry. Guys battling for second. With over 50 laps to go when they restart, his car was a rocket ship out there. Maybe not enough to go on to win the race, but top 5, top 3 car for sure. Still had plenty of time to realistically get into the top 15. I don't think that's crazy, especially with the race staying green the last 30 laps. Did sure seem entertaining for the fans that were there. Last topic on discussions with Dave. We were talking about him throughout our South Carolina 400 recap. Youngster, 13-year-old Keelan Harvick walks away with a 5th place finish after a long day surviving in the South Carolina 400. The young Harvick is still getting used to the late model stock cars. He qualified second, ups and downs throughout the long race, but tip of the cap to him. For a 13-year-old to get a 5th place finish out there, very impressive. And that wraps up this episode's edition of Discussions with Dave. In other racing news, we will have previews for the upcoming Turkey Derby and Snowball Derby in this week's second episode. Other racing action going on. Carson Hocevar and Ty Majeski are among the 50 entries for the Bill Bigley Sr. Memorial 128 at Cletus McFarland's Freedom Factory in Bradenton, Florida. That will take place this upcoming Saturday, the 29th. Saw several motorsports outlets releasing their top moments of the 2025 Cup season. So, here are mine. Win of the year: Chase Elliott, Fall, Kansas. Some may argue that Bubba Wallace and Denny Hamlin, their contact, yes, took them each out of the race and handed it to Elliott, but Chase Elliott started 8th on the overtime restart, working his way up to get to the front and secure the win. I was going nuts in front of the TV for that one. Repeat winner of the year: Chase Briscoe, Southern 500. Won in 2024 and this year. Wasn't expecting that. Congratulations to Chase. Specialty driver of the year: gotta give it to SVG. Domination on the road courses. Awesome moment of the year. Chase Briscoe and his son celebrating after the Southern 500 win. Really cute when his son jumped up on the number 19 car and put his hand with the 1 sign up. Heartbreak of the year. No question about this one, unfortunately. Denny Hamlin. Everyone thought he had the championship in the bag. He did not. Roller coaster of the year. Kyle Larson. Young Money was dominant at the start of the season, racking up a number of wins. Then the 5 kind of fell into mediocrity for part of the season. They get hot, and now he's our 2025 Cup Series champ. Odd man out of the year. Kind of turned this into odd team out of the year. Still can't believe a Team Penske driver did not make the Champ 4. Feud of the year. Gotta give it to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Carson Hocevar. Those two were button heads and bumpers for several races throughout this year. Definitely made it exciting for the fans. Disappointments of the year. As a whole, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski expected at least one of the two to nab a win. That didn't happen. Biggest disappointment for not winning for 2025 for me was Ty Gibbs. He had a slew of top 3, top 5 finishes. The episodes at the beginning of this year and leading up to it, I was really strong and behind Ty. Even predicted him to win several times on the show, hoping he can turn the page in 2026. Flip of the year, unfortunately, came early for this driver, Ryan Preece. Again, he's been a part of some brutal wrecks and flips at Daytona. Luckily, he was okay, made the next race. As someone that's been upside down as much as Preece has in his career at Daytona and the super speedways, I really hope he has success in 2026. He's earned it for sure with the bumps and bruises. Last but not least, mullet of the year. Gotta hand it to Tyler Reddick. When he grew out that hair, trimmed up the sides and the front, man, was it looking cool in a fire suit. Now for trivia answer time. This episode's question is for our big late model fans out there. Question is, prior to the South Carolina 400 being named the South Carolina 400 and being held at Florence, the event went by a different name and was raced at a different track. Name that track and what the race was called when it started in 1993. Name of the track, Myrtle Beach Speedway, which unfortunately closed in 2020. Name of the event before it became the South Carolina 400, it was named the Myrtle Beach 400. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Hope everyone has enjoyed this episode and that you have a fantastic Thanksgiving with your friends and family. Again, big thanks to Caden Kvapil for his time. Till next time, everybody, Splash of Gas out.